Hello there. I've just been having some discussion with guys about the elements and the way that they may polarize. So I'm just going to continue thinking about that here. Okay, so there are four elements and two genders, and we've pretty much got three ways of looking at the polarities. Yeah. The first way of looking at the polarities, which we've covered before, is evident in the cardinals, yeah, and that is air polarizing with fire, fire polarizing with air, and earth polarizing with water, water polarizing with earth. These polarities are very supportive, and they give each other, so the air gives fire and fire gives air, just what they really need for their nature to thrive, in a sense, yeah. So that gives you that in terms of the elements, and then earth and water, water and earth, again, they give each other what they really need. But then we want to have a look at how the actual archetypes relate to each other in terms of their elements. And for that, I think we look at the closed archetypes as one group, and we look at the open archetypes as another group. So then we're looking at the journeys. That's our clue. So it's the inner and outer journeys. That's what we're going to look at to see what do they maybe show us about the polarities and relationships of the elements. And what I'm talking about here is, for instance, does air polarize with earth, or does it mainly polarize with water? Does water polarize with fire, or does water mainly polarize with air, etc.? Because there are two ways of looking at this, really. Yeah, two ways of looking at this. We've already covered the same gender one, so we're talking about cross-gender relationships. So basically, it's earth to air, earth to fire, fire to earth, fire to water, water to fire, water to air, air to water, air to earth. So we want to see, how do these things work? What can we tell about them? What can we tell about the relationships of the elements to each other in a cross-gender sense? Now, in general, it seems from this whole thing that it seems like the primary relationships are fire with water and water with fire, and air with earth and earth with air. That's what it seems to be, yeah? But there is also a sense that the opposite can also hold. And so it'd be fire with earth and earth with fire, and water with air and air with water, which would actually fit the ideas of someone like Carl Jung. However, the system diverges from Jung's view of things in a number of ways, as far as I'm aware, though I'm by no means really that much up on Jung's system. But there are, it seems, points of divergence. But let's have a look at this. And what we'll do is we'll look at the inner and outer journeys. We'll look at how they are going in the right direction. So, in the right direction for the inner journey, we've got, and we're going to take the first element of the archetype as what we're talking about, because we've already looked at second element, and it certainly does explain the direction of the of movement and things like that. And I did that in a past video. But here, look, fire to water. Okay, water to air, air to earth, earth to fire. So the attractions work always. The attractions work in every way. Now, looking at the outer journey, fire to earth, earth to air, air to water, water to fire. So again, we got all of the things covered. Let's have a look at it going backwards. Well, what do we have then? Then we've got water to fire, fire to earth, earth to air, air to water. So what we see here, now let's see. We've got to remember we're talking about the inner journey, yeah? I think let's have a look at this in terms of the inner journey and the gender of the archetypes. So, going the right way, fire masculine goes to water feminine. Water feminine goes to air masculine. Air masculine goes to earth feminine, and earth feminine goes to fire masculine. So on the inner journey, from the point of view of the feminine archetypes, what draws them is water drawn to air and earth drawn to fire. Now, if it goes backwards, it's the reverse, and the masculine is attracted towards the earth, and it doesn't work, and the masculine here, air, is drawn towards the water, and it doesn't work. So the pattern I've got there is that on the inner journey with the open archetypes, looking at it from the point of view of the feminine archetypes, the polarity of attraction appears to be air and water and earth and fire. So that is similar to the Jungian idea. However, if you look at it from, if you then take the point of view of the masculine archetypes, if they follow the Jungian pattern, they're going in the wrong direction. They're being drawn in the wrong direction. Yeah. Okay. Now let's look at the outer journey. And the outer journey shows, again, fire to earth, earth to air, air to water, water to fire. So again, it shows all of the attractions there, all of the polarities in a sense. Now it's the outer journey. Let's have a look. Now if the other one worked on the Jungian basis using the feminine archetypes, but not the masculine archetypes, the outer journey, let's have a look at what the masculine archetypes do. Okay. Fire to earth. Okay. So that's earth drawing fire. Earth to air, air to water, water to fire. From the masculine archetypes, earth draws fire and water draws air. Again, we're finding that what seems to attract them is that same system, which is air polarizing with water and fire polarizing with earth. Now, what about when they go? Now, what about looking at it from the feminine archetype's point of view? What we get is earth drawn by air, air drawn by water, water drawn by fire. I see water drawn by fire, and then earth drawn by air. So that again, that's the other pattern we have. So what we've got there is, let me go back and have a look at the inner again, because I'm working this out as I'm going along. The inner, from the point of view of the feminine archetypes, it followed the Jungian pattern. It followed the Jungian pattern. Earth, fire, water, air. Now, what about the what happened with the masculine archetypes? Air, earth, fire, water. Okay, so for the masculine archetypes, on the inner journey, the masculine archetypes follow what we could call the Anelogian pattern. air, earth, fire, water, while the feminine archetypes followed the Jungian pattern: water, air, earth, fire. For the outer journey, the masculine archetypes follow the Jungian archetypes, the Jungian pattern: earth, fire, fire, earth, air, water, and the feminine archetypes followed the Anelogian pattern: earth, air, water, fire. And if it goes backwards, then it all goes wrong. And it swaps around. So I will actually put a little summary of that at the end of this video, as I'm just looking at this as I'm going along. But I think it's an interesting question to see, and it may tell us something about how the elements polarize, and how they can polarize in different ways, and maybe why they would polarize in different ways. Okay, I'll speak with you soon. Hello there. I just want to add as a postscript here that although we can think of, say, masculine and feminine archetypes being drawn by certain energies, we could also think of them being well, in pursuit of them, or so we can think of the impetus either coming from the direction that they're going in, or coming from the direction that they're coming from, if you see what I mean. It works both ways. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the others. For instance, Earth could be drawing fire, fire could be pursuing Earth. It could be sort of like, it depends if you think about it as propulsion or attraction. Of course, it's all metaphors. And like I said, it's all give and take. So it's worth bearing that in mind. So when we think of like the inner and the outer journey, and we're thinking of the masculine and feminine archetypes, and we're thinking of how they behave, we can look at it from either direction, if you see what I mean. So it's just worth bearing that in mind, so that we don't get caught up in the just in the structure and in the map, and just remember that there's a natural terrain out there, and the terrain actually isn't the map. Okay.